Hey everyone, I'm so glad that we can join together again today. The last few weeks we've been talking about love and different kinds of love. We talked about patient love and kind love. This week I want to take a step back from talking about love to talk about a different topic, Holy Week. So as some of you know, over the last few weeks we've been journeying through this time in the church's life called Lent. And so this week marks that last week as we prepare for Easter. And so today, this Sunday, we celebrate what's known as Palm Sunday. Later on in the week on Thursdays, few churches across the world will celebrate what's called Maundy Thursday or the Last Supper. It's what we usually talk about in Ahava as communion. It's where we break bread and we drink juice and we celebrate this meal that Jesus had for the last time with his disciples. And then we get to Friday. And Friday is when Jesus died. We call it Good Friday, the crucifixion. And then we get to Sunday, when we celebrate when Jesus rose again from the dead. We call it Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday, and it's a Sunday full of celebration. So today I want to read you two stories. They're from this book called Growing in God's Love, which is a story Bible. So I'm going to read you the story about Palm Sunday. I'm going to read you a story about the day that Jesus died. At the end of each story is a series of questions, and so I invite you to pause the video and talk with your parents, your family, your sibling, whoever is around about the questions. And there are some activities that you can do at home. So the first story is called Jesus Visits Jerusalem. And it's based on the book of Luke, chapter 19, verses 29 through 40. What kind of trips do you like to take with your family or friends? Have you gone on trips in your city or town or farther away? Did you go on a plane, on a train, in a bus, or by car? Jesus traveled to cities and small towns to teach the people about God's love. One of the most important trips he took was to Jerusalem, the special holy city. While he was there, Jesus gave two of the disciples a special task. He said to them, "Go into the village. There you will find a young donkey that no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it to me. I want to ride it into Jerusalem." The disciples were surprised Jesus wanted a donkey to ride because he always walked everywhere he went. But they loved Jesus and knew he was an important teacher, so they did what he asked. Jesus told them that if anyone asked why they were taking the donkey, they should just tell them that Jesus needed it. They went into the village and found the donkey, just like Jesus had told them. They brought the donkey back to Jesus. The disciples laid cloths on its back so that he could ride it. Now Jesus was ready to ride into Jerusalem. The people following him began to cheer. Crowds lined the streets. Some people joined the disciples and spread their cloaks on the road to welcome Jesus. Others wondered why everyone was so excited about a man entering the city on a donkey. Powerful rulers rode big war horses. The disciples praised Jesus, singing and shouting for joy because of God's love for them. The people welcomed Jesus with blessings, saying, "Peace." The people who knew Jesus and his teaching about love and peace were excited that he was in Jerusalem. They expected great things from this teacher from Galilee. Some teachers of the law, known as Pharisees, were in the crowd. They did not like Jesus being praised so much when he was not a king. They also worried that Jesus would upset the Roman officials. They thought he didn't deserve all this celebration because he was only a teacher riding on a donkey. They said to Jesus, "Teacher, Jesus, tell your disciples to stop praising you like a king. It's not the right thing to do because you're not a king." Jesus told them, "I tell you the truth. If they were silent and did not sing praises, the very stones on this earth beneath us would shout out." So question, when have you heard people cheer or shout with joy? Who is the crowd watching Jesus? If you could draw a picture or imagine a picture of what was happening, what would it look like? Think of someone you would want to celebrate and praise. How would you show that person that you love him or her? And so our second story is titled Jesus Dies, and it's based on Luke chapter 23, verses 1 through 49. Have you ever been having a good time and something sad or bad happens? This is what happened to Jesus after the Passover meal he shared with the disciples. Some temple leaders didn't like the way so many people listened to Jesus' teachings. They worried that people might not listen to them. So that night they came to the garden where Jesus was praying. Judas, one of Jesus' disciples, pointed them to Jesus. The temple guards grabbed Jesus and arrested him. They took him to the temple leaders. "If you are the one God has sent, tell us," the temple leader said. "If I answer, you won't believe me," Jesus said. "Are you God's son?" they asked. "You say that I am," answered Jesus. They took Jesus to Pilate, who was the Roman leader in Jerusalem. "Are you the king of Jews?" Pilate asked. "If you say I am," Jesus answered. Pilate knew that the Roman king didn't want another king in the land. Some of the temple leaders truly thought Jesus was doing something wrong. So Pilate decided to let the people decide if Jesus should live or die. So Pilate had Jesus and another murderer brought before a crowd of people. "Which one should I set free?" Pilate asked. Some people shouted, "The murderer. Let him go free." "If that's what you want," said Pilate. The soldiers led Jesus to the top of a hill to die. A crowd followed, but only a few women who followed Jesus stood close to him. About noon, the sky became very dark, the night without stars. Then Jesus died. His disciples and followers were sad. How could they live without Jesus? When you are scared or sad, what do people say to comfort you? If you had been in the crowd, what do you think you would have seen or even heard? Can you write a note or draw a picture for someone who is sad or maybe going through a tough time? Now, this might be a sad note to leave off of this week, but we all know that this isn't where this story ends. And so when we come back next Sunday, we'll talk about the joy and celebration after this sadness. And so as you go through the week, think about all the different emotions that Jesus and his friends and his followers and loved ones went through during this week. They started out with a parade full of shouting and celebrations. They shared a meal that was so special to them. And then it ended in sadness before the big celebration of a resurrection and Easter Sunday occurred. So remember, as always, to live and love this week. And I'll see you next week when we celebrate that the story does not finish here.